and him coming to terms with what he has done, letting that go, and figuring out how to move on and re-embrace who he was in his former life before he was forced into that role. Now, without going too far into details on that, he did get to live a good chunk of that life voluntarily, but it presents an interesting perspective. And one thing I kept finding myself thinking is what Munden's basically done is there's a lot of fantasy tropes in this, but number one, the reason why tropes exist is because they're common literary tools within a genre. And he has used a couple tropes, but he's used them in a good way. Like, the term trope gets thrown out there a lot as a criticism. What he has actually done is taken a lot of them and put them into a perspective where you're looking at them from a different place than what you normally do. A lot of what's going on in this story is the after effects of what would be the central focus of a different novel. So you're sort of seeing what happens to the adventure after the adventure's over. Now, there is some action, don't get me wrong, towards the end of the book. But like I said, about the last third of the book, there's a few events that happen, so you get some traditional sort of fantasy action in this, and there is some tension. But that's not, to me, the important part of the book. It highlights everything else, and it sort of acts as a peak, not just in the action, but in his character arc, and it sort of solidifies his point of character growth and a transition from the old character to the new character. So, if you've ever wondered what happens to some of the creatures and stuff in a hardcore fantasy story after the main story's over and everything's sort of picked up and collected, this is for you. Like, the necropolis that's mentioned, it's what I would imagine if you've played World of Warcraft, what Undercity would be like if it was actually in the ruins of Lordaeron rather than just being in the sewers. So, and had someone a little less, more Sylvanas now rather than Sylvanas then. So, super enjoyable. Highly recommended. I would recommend hopping over to TikTok and hunting down his shop, or finding, I think it might be available on Amazon. I'm not 100% certain. And picking up a copy to read through it if you've been curious about cozy literature at all. It's really good. And check out his TikTok as well. He seems like a pretty decent fellow. I don't know. I don't know him. All I've seen is the post that he puts up on there. All I can say is, if he ever puts up a signed copy on TikTok, I will be picking that up instantly, because that is something I would proudly add to my collection. Anyway, Recipes for an Unexpected Afterlife by Deston Munden. Check it out.